Hey there, I'm Rachel Ehring, and you're listening to the Top Music Piano Podcast. Get inspired as we discuss creative resources, trends in piano pedagogy, ways to grow your income and streamline your studio, and new ways to engage your students each week. If you are a teacher who wants to go beyond the method books to create an innovative studio that fosters lifelong music makers, you've come to the right place.
Hello there, piano teacher friends. I hope that you are doing well today. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you are a new listener, thank you for being here. And of course, if you have been coming back here week after week, I am so grateful for you. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. I think I mentioned at the end of last week's episode that I was going to attempt to do something that I've never done before on the podcast. And I would say it was at least a partial success, but we'll find out today together. I also have to apologize if my voice sounds a little different. I've been sick all week and trying to fight through it to record this podcast. You might have seen if you follow me on Instagram or if you are a Top Music member that I recently attended the NCKP conference outside of Chicago. If you aren't familiar with it, NCKP is the National Conference on Keyboard Pedagogy that is held every 2 years just outside Chicago in Lombard, Illinois. I went 2 years ago in 2023, and that's actually where I met Tim Topham. Unfortunately, Tim wasn't able to go this year, but I went with two of my California piano teacher friends. And so I thought today I'd share a few of the things that I learned while I was at the conference. Before I went, I had this bright idea to take my Lavalier microphones and record short, one-question interviews with a whole bunch of piano teachers. It was a great idea, but honestly, once I got there, I wasn't very motivated to do it because things were so busy and it was hard to transition out of learning and socializing and networking mode and into podcast host mode. So I didn't end up doing as many as I had originally planned, but I did record a handful. And so I'm going to share some of those with you today. You'll hear really short clips sprinkled throughout this episode where teachers from all over the world say their name and answer one question each. I have to tell you that the audio isn't going to be quite as good as you might be used to hearing on the podcast. Some of these little clips were recorded in the exhibit hall, so you might hear some piano music playing in the background. Some were recorded in the bar at the Top Music meetup. But I love that everyone I asked was game to participate, and I loved hearing their answers to my one-question podcast interviews. Since our topic this month is practice habits, I thought I would ask a few questions about practicing. And here's some of the answers that I got.
Welcome to the podcast. Can you introduce yourself and tell us where you're from?
Hi. Yes, my name is Amy, and I am from Anaheim, California.
All right. And your question, Miss Amy, is, did you like to practice when you were young?
That was dependent on whether or not it was my idea or my mom's idea. If it was my idea, the answer is yes. If it was my mom's idea, I was a little on the stubborn side, so I would kind of drag my feet. Eventually I did, but it wasn't as enjoyable as if I went there on my own accord.
So how do you think that informs you as a piano teacher if you have students who only want to practice if it's their idea?
I think it's great to give kids that agency and that confidence and that ability to make it their thing and not just their parents' thing. But it does take time to get to that place. And I also try to encourage parents to call it play versus practice, because sometimes practice has a negative connotation. So if they can encourage their students to go play something.
My name is Anna Marie. I'm from Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit, but I am also from Columbia, South America.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Okay, here's your question. Okay. What do you do if a student comes to their lesson and they have not practiced at all?
Oh, so I had two students that were like transfer students from another teacher, and every lesson I would come to their house and they would be like, "Oh my God, Miss Anna Marie, I didn't practice. I had to," and I tell my students, "How old are you?" Or I ask them, and let's say 8, and I say, "Can you drive yet?" And they say no. I said, so someone else is in charge of your schedule. So if you didn't have time to practice, that's okay, because we're going to practice together today. And it's fine. I mean, I have to meet them where they're at. And a lot of times parents are so overscheduled and they're overscheduling their kids and the kids suffer. So I'm just where they are.
My name is Sonia. I'm from Calgary, Alberta.
Great. Here's your question. What is your best hack for getting students to practice?
Oh my goodness. I think dangling a carrot, whatever that carrot is for them. So whether that's some sort of musical goal or whether that's, what did we learn today? Extrinsic or intrinsic. I think everyone's different. So I think always, giving them something to reach for.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Sonia.
One of my favorite things about the conference was the exhibit hall, and I actually spent quite a bit of time there this time around. My friend Tweena, who was one of the teachers I traveled with to the conference, had a booth in the exhibit hall selling her music and magic practice journals. And so our other friend Amy and I helped her out at the booth whenever we weren't attending sessions. I had a lot of fun talking with people who came by the booth and also meeting other exhibitors. This conference was so busy that I didn't have a lot of time to walk around and browse at all the other booths that were there. But then at the end, I started panic buying stuff because I didn't want to come home empty-handed. I bought some new sheet music for the teachers who work for me, and I also bought the Piano Safari decorating kit. Now, I tend to use Piano Safari more as a supplemental book rather than the main method book, but I often have wished that I had the decorating kit to show the groups of 2 and 3 black keys and the note names. So I think that it will be a really fun addition to my teaching studio, and I'm hoping to use Piano Safari a little more now that I have this edition. Speaking of method books, I'm always curious what method books teachers prefer to use with their beginners. So I asked several teachers, and here's what they told me.
I'm Annabeth Rucker, and I'm from Portland, Oregon.
Nice to meet you, Annabeth. Could you tell us one of your favorite method books to use with beginners?
Ooh, that's a tough question. There are a lot of really good method books out there. I think it depends on the age of the student and the pacing of the student, but I love the Music Tree. I love Faber Piano Adventures. I love Piano Safari. There's a lot of great options.
Thank you, Annabeth.
Thanks.
Hi, Rachel. I am Tweena Vuong from Santa Ana, Orange County, California.
What is your favorite method book for beginners and why?
My favorite method beginner book is, can I do 2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll just go with 1. James Bastian. And I think it's just because I'm used to it. I've been using it. It's very clear, concise, and simple. And I used it at the beginning of my teaching experience. And in that way, I was teaching myself how to teach with it. So because I was able to learn how to teach with it, and I teach with it now, I feel like it's been very successful for our students and for our teachers.
Thank you, Tweena.
Thank you too.
I am Jacqueline Morozic. I am from Cincinnati, Ohio. I have a piano studio and the Scrappy Piano Teacher podcast.
Yes, you do. I would love to know, what is your favorite method book for beginners?
Ooh, that's a great question. I call myself a Piano Safari junkie. I love Piano Safari.
It's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jackie.
I went to so many great sessions at the conference. There's no way I can summarize them all or even give you highlights from them, but a couple of them do stand out to me. Jennifer Fox gave a whirlwind presentation of 20 games you can use in your studio, and it was actually more like 20 categories of games, like target games, water games, bingo games, card games, action and sport games, and on and on. I am currently prepping for a 1-week summer music camp, so I was so happy to get a few more game ideas that I can use for the camp. Since I recently put on a sight reading challenge for my audience, I wanted to go to at least one sight reading session, and I went to a really good one by Jenna Broxma, where she gave a lot of the deeper scientific reasons behind how the best sight readers read. She talked about eye tracking, kinesthetic awareness, and talked about some of the sight reading apps that are available. I learned a lot about why I do what I do when I'm sight reading, so that was really helpful. Another fantastic session that I went to was an unmaster class with Samantha Coates and Leela Viss. I'm pretty sure that Leela talked about the concept of the Unmaster class when she was on the podcast a few months ago, so you can check that out. They are both such tremendously creative teachers, and to be able to sit and watch them work their magic was so inspiring. One of the quotes that I heard at the conference that I've been thinking about was from a session with Barbara Fast, who's very well known in the world of piano pedagogy. And she was talking about strategies for calming our brains. And she said this, a change is as good as a rest. I've been thinking about how I can apply that at work. Sometimes I just feel like I need a break, or I'm having trouble focusing on whatever task I'm doing. And I think I'm going to try this idea that a change is as good as a rest and see what happens. I asked some of the teachers at the conference to give me some of their best pieces of advice that they've heard. And here's what they said.
My name is Ian Veloso, and I'm from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Great. And what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I think the best advice I ever received, and I don't remember who it was, believe it or not, but it still stuck with me.
Okay.
And that was teach less, show more.
Oh, that's really good advice. Thank you, Ian.
I'm Christina Agostini. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
All right. Your question is, what's the best advice you've heard at the conference so far?
So I attended a great session today with Amy Chaplin from the Piano Pantry podcast, and she was just talking about building your studio and entrepreneurship. And I wrote down a quote which says, give yourself and your studio a chance to evolve, undergo changes, and embrace transitions. You don't have to fit inside the same box year after year. So I love just giving ourselves the opportunity to evolve professionally and personally.
Thank you, Christina.
I'm Brianna Christian from Tennessee, but my studio's in Texas.
All right. Here's your question, Brianna. What advice would you give to a brand new piano teacher?
I would say to follow your heart and teach the students that you want to teach, and then put the marketing elements in place from the beginning to keep a full studio and have a sustainable business.
Ooh, I like that. So don't just teach everybody.
Yeah.
Figure out who you actually want.
I love beginners, and I mostly teach beginners, and then I hire teachers to teach once they get more advanced.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Of course, the absolute best part about the conference was meeting so many people. I met probably at least a dozen people who I've interviewed on this podcast, but never met in person. So that was so much fun. I felt like I had a whole group of instant friends because they'd been on the podcast and I'd gotten to know them a little bit that way. And then I met a whole other group of people who I want to have on the podcast in the future. And then there are friends from all around the world that I know from Instagram or Top Music or Facebook groups, and meeting them in person was by far the highlight of the trip. So here are a few more random questions that I asked my newfound friends at the conference.
I'm Grant Kondo, and I grew up in Hawaii, but currently live based in San Jose, California.
Oh, great. A fellow Californian. All right. Here's your question. What is one of your favorite books of supplemental repertoire to use in your studio?
Oh, there's so many, but
one of your favorites.
The first one that comes to my mind is Christopher Norton Connections, because he has a lot of different styles and there's a lot of pieces, so you get a lot of value for the money. And it goes through all 10 levels of, so very beginner to quite advanced.
Great. Thank you.
I'm Janice Puglisi. I'm from Oak Ridge, North Carolina.
Perfect. Who is the piano teacher who had the greatest influence on you?
My college piano teacher, her name was Majo Gray, and she taught me more than any teacher, all of them put together. I teach the way she taught me, and she was the best.
I love that. My college piano teacher had a huge impact on me too, so thank you, Denise.
My name is Brock Charts, and I'm from Lawrence, Kansas.
Yay, Kansas. All right, here's your question, Brock. Who's your all-time favorite composer?
Oh, man, that is a tough one. It's like picking a favorite child.
I know.
You can't tell them.
I won't tell the other.
Oh, man, I'm so drawn to like movie music and film composers, and I gotta go with, I think, Danny Elfman is.
Oh, that's a good one.
I am such a Batman fan, and I love his score for it, and I just am so big a fan of anything Danny does. It's just like whimsical and unpredictable and like perfect, and he gets me. I really, really love anything by Danny Elfman.
Great. Thank you, Brock.
Thank you for having me, Rachel.
Hi, I'm Christina Lee, and I'm from Washington State, Seattle area.
Yes, and you just did a podcast interview with me, but we're doing a one question podcast interview today. So
Awesome.
Your question is, what is a book that you would recommend to listeners?
Okay, so I came across this book recently. It's called Tiny Love Stories, and it's a collection of very short love stories, often found in the modern love column of the New York Times. And so it's just a really great book to have by bedside. It's calming and sweet and heartwarming. And you might want to just have one at the studio too. For people waiting in the area, they might not want to read a whole novel. They don't have time to read a whole novel, but they might read a story.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you, Christina.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed this episode that was a little different than my normal format. Thank you for indulging me as I reminisced about a really fantastic week. If you ever have the chance to go to NCKP or any of the other piano teacher conferences around the world, I encourage you to do it. It is so worth it to make connections and learn from some of the greatest piano teachers alive today. That's the end of the podcast for this week. Next week, I'll be back with an interview, so I hope you'll join me here then. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Rachel Ehring, and this is the Top Music Piano Podcast. I'll see you next week.
How do you keep up to date with all the latest trends and research into music education? How do you connect with other teachers around the world and make sure your teaching stays fresh and relevant for students of all ages and stages, both now and into the future? I created our Top Music Pro membership to be the one-stop shop for music teaching resources, training, support and community, and I'd love for you to come and join us inside. With over 40 comprehensive training courses, hundreds of teaching demonstrations and lesson plans, free monthly sheet music, discounts, and all the business and pedagogy support you could ever need, Top Music Pro is the community you've been looking for. If you're ready to level up your learning from the podcast and join thousands of other teachers in our global network, head over to topmusicpro.com today.